everybody. We are getting started, so please either take your seats or if you're having a conversation, please take it out in the hallway because I am thrilled to introduce my next speaker, Denise Cherry, Vice President of Marketing at Rivian. It's on.
Oh, great. It's on. Hi.
So this is rare. You don't do a lot of public speaking events, so I kind of feel very special that you are here with us today. And you haven't been CMO for too long. You've been at Rivian for 5 years, and you've had a really interesting career, very design oriented. So how did you end up at Rivian 5 years ago?
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of my career has been in tech over the last 20-something years, and like you said, very design-oriented in whether that's spaces or branding or digital design, things like that. And I started 5.5 years ago, which means I started before we had cars on the road. And if you look back at my career, so much of it has been very startup-based and sort of chasing that next really exciting thing. And so when this Rivian opportunity came, it was originally to help stand up some of the factory pieces and start to build our retail program and think about like from a development and a spatial aspect. And then over the years, as we've refined the brand and as I've gotten really comfortable and have deep knowledge of the brand, it's sort of migrated much more into marketing and watching the evolution of this company and like going from that one prototype show car that is like a unicorn to then seeing them in our carpool line at school has just been like the best transformation.
And they are becoming more and more common. Like I drove one last week, and I was kind of, when you drive something, you look around to see if there's others, and I was like, oh, there's a Rivian, there's a Rivian, there's a Rivian. So we are getting to see more of them on the road. For folks who aren't familiar with Rivian, can you tell us a little bit about the company and the vehicles? And I'm going to go ahead and show a picture. There's the R1S and it's the R1T, and then the R1S is the green vehicle.
Yes, so we have the R1S and the R1T. They are our halo kind of flagship products. So we really wanted these to be our handshake to the world and an introduction into our brand and how we can start to represent this idea of optimism and help transform the world into electrification. So they represent sort of the very pinnacle. If you drive one, you will see it's an incredible product to drive. It can be the very best sports car and the very best off-road vehicle all in one capsule. And obviously the design is incredibly iconic with when you see the pill-shaped headlights coming down the road, you immediately know. And so we really wanted to set that design language, set that brand language, to then allow us to start to transition into R2, which will debut early in 2026, and really allow that to become our adventure for everyone.
So who are your current customers and who are your target customers? Can you talk a little bit about demographics, psychographics, that sort of thing?
I think that we're in a really exciting phase of growth right now in that if you looked back a year or 2 years ago, our owners, our customers were primarily early adopters. Right? They're excited about the latest and greatest thing. They are typically the first in line for a new iPhone or a new gadget, whatever it might be. And now you can see that shift as our brand awareness grows, as more of these vehicles get out into the market. Even today, I think it's something like 35% of customers today, the reason they bought a Rivian or the reason they became aware is because they saw another one on the road. Which is a very different sort of approach than a lot of the other automotive. We're starting to see that shift into, the R1S can be the very coolest mom car that you've seen. It can be really for families. You can start to see the R1T becoming really that sort of adventure vehicle for folks. And you're starting to see that shift away from early adopter into more traditional customer segmentation.
Yeah, the R1S is huge. It's got 3 rows, and I put both rows down, and I was like, "Holy cow! This is like bigger than my first apartment."
You can lay down in it, literally.
Yeah, you could do camping if you want to do the whole van life thing in your very cool Rivian. So your first position was at Rivian was Senior Director Design and Retail Development, and I actually visited Rivian's New York City pop-up space this past April, and it had a lot of unique elements that aren't found in your typical car dealership. So what was the thinking behind that space?
we really wanted to create spaces that were inviting for everyone, right? We do understand that at the end of the day, an automotive purchase is actually a collective decision, right? It's not one person, deciding that they're going to do this, and they're not, you're weighing it. You're asking your kids what color they might like. You're asking your brother or sister what they're driving. Like, it really is a collective decision. And so we wanted to create a space that sort of honored and allowed people to bring their entire friend group, family group, whatever it might be. And so you'll start to see New York is a great one. We have a historic movie theater in Laguna that we've renovated that holds programming. They become a place to build community. And I think that that's one of the things that's really resonant about our brand is, a lot of our Rivian clubs will say, like, you buy a Rivian, but you get an entire community when you buy that. So how can we also create a place that, allows you to start to really believe in the lifestyle and believe in the brand? Also, if you come back next year in New York, we're actually renovating that site right now to become even more of that kind of experiential brand moment, to be more of a handshake with the world. So
Very cool. I mean, it didn't feel like a dealership. It felt like a community space, and looking at the vehicles and the materials and sort of the integrity of the vehicle was really interesting.
And part of it too is also, we are an all-electric company, so there's also a measure of, like, is EV lifestyle right for me, and how do we create a space for EV education as a whole, not just for Rivian, but for the entire industry. So you'll see really dedicated spots for trip planning, for inspiration in terms of how to go out and find an adventure and celebrate what the vehicle enables you to do. Because we know that, like, upper funnel beyond, like, do I want a Rivian is, do I want an EV?
Yeah, and that's the education aspect is so important, and you guys have really tackled that, and I applaud you because a lot of automakers haven't. They all should be doing it because it's the only way to get consumers to understand things. So earlier this year, Rivian said it had launched a demand generation plan that includes the launch of leasing options, new marketing campaigns, and encouraging more demo drives. And Rivian has hosted over 28,000 demo drives in the first 3 months of 2024, which was up 91% from the previous year. That's only the first 3 months. I'm sure there's been thousands more since then. So how is the plan going, and where are you doing the test drives at?
Yeah, I think that, like, the beauty of our product, we always say this, is, like, to experience it is to kind of fall in love with it. It is such a unique product in that it's incredibly capable on-road and off-road. It's an incredibly unique product with the software-defined vehicle and the over-the-air updates. So the vehicle that you purchase, the vehicle you have 12 months after that purchase is actually a fundamentally better vehicle than when you got it delivered. And that's super interesting and compelling, and you can't really experience what the software can do unless you are behind the wheel and really understanding it. And then the beauty of what we've tried to do with demo drives is we can do them almost anywhere. So we have spaces that we've stood up, obviously. We have a really robust service infrastructure that we do those drives out of. But you'll also see us doing drives actually here. Today, you guys could go and take a drive down at the test drive over there.
But wait until after the conference is over.
Yeah, after the conference is over. And we've done them in we have a charging network as well. So we've done them at our RAN sites, our Adventure Network sites. We've done them with partners. There's just a lot of opportunity because it's really a compelling and easy way to get people to experience the vehicle and see them and touch them and fall in love with them.
That was a joke, by the way. You guys are a tough crowd. It's really hard to get you to laugh. I'm like, I'm making a joke, and everybody thinks I'm serious. So anyway, next up, we are going to look at the R2, which there's a lot of excitement for this next model. It's mid-size. It's much smaller than the R1S, and you've already got more than 100,000 people who have put down $100 for one, even though it won't be on sale until 2027.
2026.
Oh, that's right, 26. You guys moved it up. So how have you generated that much excitement? And just on this, as a side note, I'm actually very strongly considering being, 100,001.
Amazing. I mean, we've been so thrilled with reception that we've gotten. I mean, we are biased, but we love this product. I mean,
It's gorgeous. I mean,
it's a beautiful product. It's
$45,000. Did I mention that?
Yeah, and it's such a unique form factor for that price point. It's actually a really premium experience for it too. If you get a chance to see it, our R2 is making a tour around the country right now in some of our spaces. It's in Venice today. If you get a chance to stop by and see it, highly recommend the interior, the CMF. It really feels like an incredibly premium product for that price point. And so we're just incredibly excited about what it can be. And I think that we've seen the public react to that as well. We talk a lot about the fact that in this price point, if you want an electric car today, there isn't a lot of choice. And the way we get more people to adopt EVs and the more we can push towards electrification, that is by offering the public more options, right? If you want a $45,000 EV, you have 2-3 options today. If you want a $45,000 ICE vehicle, you have hundreds of options. So we're excited for this to be yet another option, and an option that is remarkably different than what else is on the market.
And a lot for that price point. I mean, it feels very, I saw one in New York, and it feels very, very premium. So social media and lifestyle influencers have been a big part of your marketing from the very beginning of the company. How has that been effective, and how do you select your partners?
I mean, for us, it really comes down to authenticity. I think we've tried to build a brand that is rich in storytelling and rich in celebrating the mission of what we're doing. So anyone that we want to partner with needs to be aligned to that mission, needs to be aligned to what we represent. So things like from the very beginning, our partnerships with Ben Moon or Alex Honnold, like that's why they resonated, because it's very clear that those folks would be using this vehicle in their everyday life. We have a really natural aversion to this concept of pay to play. Like it really, if we're going to partner with someone, we really want to be able to have them even influence. We've had Alex or Ben come in and look at the product and make comments on our products to like try and make them better. Like, how do we really create a true partnership with these? Because it's going to make us stronger. It's going to make them stronger. And so I think that's really been the core of the success, is that they've all been really authentic to our mission and our brand.
And consumers know the difference between a paid partnership and a more,
That's right. So we're really like, if it's, a couple posts and a few $1,000s, you can sense that, versus someone that actually has the product, lives with it every day, can tell those stories, and that's really important to us.
So you are doing a little more creative now. It's not just the social stuff. And I'd love to talk a little bit about the tonality of the creative. The Halloween promotions are so whimsical. And let's go ahead and show them, and then we can chat about how they came about.
It's good to be back.
Who doesn't love Hoff? I mean, come on. And there's one more, actually. So those are so fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
Like one of the most fun we've had all year, for sure.
And you've done Halloween a couple of years now.
Yeah, I mean, we really, we have a real soft spot for Halloween. And every year, like, the vehicle design team, the VUX team, and our software teams, like, they keep topping, the year before, and I'm really curious to see what we're going to do for 2025. But I do think it speaks to the capabilities of what a software-defined vehicle can do. Like, that was pushed to all of our owners in an over-the-air update, and you got to transform your vehicle into 3 different car costumes. And I think that kind of playfulness is really special for our brand and really differentiating. It comes from this idea that we call it like joyful utilities. So like, how can we use the vehicle? How can the vehicle enable really joyful and fun experiences? Like, what are the little things that we can do to make you smile? And basically, our Jeff Hamoud, our Chief Design Officer, grew up with a deep love of Knight Rider. And just one day was like, what if we turned our car into Knight Rider? And everybody was like, that's a brilliant idea. Like, let's do it. And so that became the basis for it. And I think it speaks to the playfulness in our brand, our technology capabilities, that we could suddenly just convert your car into something else. And the flexibility and the capabilities of having everything done in-house in that way. That was entirely produced in-house. The video was produced in-house. The creative was made in-house. The car costume itself was made in-house. The technology stack that supports it. And so it just means that we can move really quickly and have a lot of fun really quickly, and bring our owners along on that ride with us, right? You get to push a button, and then an hour later you have a whole new car, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the creative are the posts from people who are doing it, your owners. I mean, the amount of content that they generated,
it's
just
really
playing
incredible
with the features and talking about it, and how do you do it, make it do this, and it just.
Yeah, and these were super fun. I mean, these were incredibly successful for us. Millions of views on both Instagram and TikTok. So super exciting for us too, and that it's all earned amplification. And it was just a really fun,
So using a celebrity was new for the brand, and the Insta Reel featuring Hoff has gotten 1.8 million views. So do you think you'll use him again, or another celebrity? What's your general feeling about using celebrities in creative?
I think it's the same thing. It's got to come down to authenticity. This was the perfect marriage because we wanted to pay homage to Knight Rider. We have such a deep love of that kind of nostalgia, and we knew that our owner base did too. And so how can we create something that's really incredible? And so I think celebrity, influencer, whatever it is, it just has to be authentic to the campaign. It has to be authentic to the brand and to the story that you're trying to tell. I think customers can see when you're trying to latch on and it's transactional. I think we really try and avoid things that are purely transactional because your consumers can tell the difference.
And Hoff seemed very comfortable in that vehicle.
Let me just say, he was incredible at this shoot. You could tell the love he has for this character. He was tearing up a little bit delivering lines because he just had such fond memories of it all. I mean, he was an absolute gem. It was awesome.
That makes the whole thing so much more fun.
Absolutely.
So capability is a big part of your brand message, and Rivian has been very successful at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. So let's watch a video about it, and then we can talk about what it is exactly.
Pikes Peak is really special because it is such a tough environment. We're sitting at 9,000 feet right now at the start line, and you finish at 14,000 feet. It's really pushing the cars and the people to the limit. This year we're back with the brand new Gen 2 quad motor R1T. This car is really fast. It's quite a potent package up here.
I really want to go for a ride with him at Pikes Peak. That just looks like a blast.
Do you know the best part? That's his name is Gardner. He is actually a Rivian employee. And so back to this idea of authenticity, we've done this now a few years, and it's been a great way for us to put our product through the paces. But it's because Gardner was like, I really want to do this race, and I really want to do it with our product, and I want to be able to push the limits on. That is a production-ready vehicle for all intents and purposes, and so it was such an organic thing, and so that's also, I think, why it feels so natural for us, because it really is just one guy with an incredible passion for this, and then us saying, absolutely, let's amplify that thing, that passion that you have. because that at the end of the day is why Rivian exists. Like, we want to encourage adventure in everyone, and for him, this is his adventure. And so, like, let's celebrate that, let's amplify that, and whatever that means for anyone, that at the end of the day is what our vehicles enable people to do, and that's what makes our brand so exciting.
And I don't think people realize how fast Rivians are and just how capable, like, having driven one this past week, it's kind of a miracle I didn't get a speeding ticket, because it was just, really...
Did you have launch mode too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why don't you talk a little bit about launch mode? It's incredible.
So launch mode is essentially, because these are software-defined vehicles, we have a lot of different modes, and the car essentially transforms into another car, depending on what you push. So you have things like sand mode that transforms it into a thing that's, drifting through the dunes. You have snow mode to handle snow. Launch mode exists purely to have fun. Like, it exists to essentially go from 0 to 60 as quickly as humanly possible.
Like a second, I think.
It literally, I think our quad vehicles, it is 2.5 seconds. Like, it is insanely fast. So that's the beauty of this vehicle too, is like it can become the very best sports car you've ever driven. It has it has essentially like a McLaren-based suspension system. So it can become the very best sports car you've ever driven. It can become the very best off-road vehicle that you've ever driven. And so all of those different adventures that it can enable, how can we start to tell those stories in really compelling ways?
Just to clarify, I don't drive 900 miles an hour like constantly. I have a couple of very long freeway entrances near my house.
We highly recommend launch mode only in a closed course. Legal would want me to tell you that.
Yeah, closed course, only closed course, definitely. Well, I have one more question, and then I'm going to let the audience ask a couple questions. So hopefully you all have been thinking about a question you might want to ask Denise, or about Rivian. But it's late November, so this last question is I ask of a lot of my interviews. Is this time of year people are starting to talk about Super Bowl advertising. Will we ever see Rivian do a Super Bowl spot? And how do you feel about Super Bowl advertising?
I have worked at Rivian long enough to never say never.
RJ may say, let's do a Super Bowl spot.
But today, that's not core to how we think about amplifying our brand. Not because it's ineffective, not because we don't like it. I think we've just really tried to be so deep in storytelling and in our community that until we could find the right way to compress some of those stories or some of those pieces into that crisp 30-second spot, I don't know that it's the right value for us at this moment in time. But like I said, there's a lot of things we were never going to do that we certainly do now. So.
Who would have thought you'd have Hoff in a commercial?
Exactly. If you were 2 years ago, we're going to have David House, and be like, you're crazy.
Yeah. And I would really encourage everybody to go to Rivian.com and go to their social, because I was looking for creative to show, and a lot of it is long form, and I'm not going to show a 3-minute video, but there's a couple of recent ones that you've done that are just absolutely authentic and impactful and really perfectly done. So encourage people to look at those. So do we have any questions from the audience?
Hi, this is Karen Osborne. I'm with Campbell Marketing and Communications. And first, I just want to tell you, I love how you're building community and you're really engaging people, and it seems very, very authentic. But I'm interested, you were talking about actually like addressing like the, growing the EV market and that end of things. And are you doing anything in, things like trip planning are fantastic, but are you doing anything to kind of like directly address some of the big fears, like being on a road and running out of electricity, or there's some things that people get scared about, and I'm wondering how you are addressing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the largest, most concrete thing that we're doing to address that is we are actually building our own charging network. So across the country, very much like Tesla has their supercharging network, we have our Rivian Adventure Network. Today, we obviously do not have nearly as many as Tesla does, but every year we're adding 50, 60 sites. And we've added a particular, in Yosemite and Joshua Tree, we are adding these things called charging outposts. And they are really like an amenitized charging piece and truly like an expression of the brand. Our charging network going forward is open to all EVs. It's not Rivian specific, but those charging outposts give people an opportunity to charge their own EV, or if you're a non-EV owner, you can park there. There are snacks, playgrounds for your kids to go, a rest stop for your dog. You can take a demo drive through the one in Joshua Tree, and they're incredibly beautiful, inspirational spaces. And again, it's just to reinforce that idea of community, even outside of our owner base.
It's very unique. No other brand is doing anything like that.
Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you,
That was
Denise.
awesome,
This was great.
Denise and Tanya.